moving. We have to get to the return threshold before the ticking clock on your suit gets to 0.
Why would you put ticking clock?
Because if it's too easy to get there, we'll never get there. If you don't want to be meta, stop deconstructing shit.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to In Time. My name is Nicholas Lamar Suter, and with us today is Greg, and also 𝐒𝐨𝐿𝐴𝐿, literally from the road. 𝐒𝐨𝐿, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome.
Good. Very glad to hear it. We would like to bring Greg out in a minute, but there's a couple of things that we absolutely must cover because it's been an hour. It's been a crazy hour. So, let's start with the government. The government will reopen. It will reopen tonight, officially, is what it looks like. The House of Representatives very quickly passed the Senate version of the reopening bill. That version is now on its way to be signed by Donald Trump, who's expected to sign it. As soon as he signs it, the government is reopened. That means tomorrow, government services will begin, the money will begin flowing again, yada, yada, yada. So that's it. The shutdown will end tonight within the hour if he hasn't already signed it by the time we've gone live. Having said that, more emails have been released, and the Oversight Committee promises it intends very much to release even more emails. We've gone over some of the emails already. My to date just sort of favorite, like first rule of what is it? First rule of being a press secretary. When you don't have an answer prepared, just deny. I'll bring. Greg is here. Greg, how are you? Since we're gonna get your commentary on this before we. Good to see you.
I know. What's up? How's it going?
It's been a while, and by the way, I wanted to thank you. I'm sorry, it was completely my bad. We had you scheduled for tomorrow, and I just got my wires crossed. So,
That's
Greg,
okay, man. It's all right.
and you see, he's always a cool guy. So I lucked out, and it was Greg that we hosed instead of someone who's a real jerk about it. And I was like, can you do tomorrow? He goes, yeah, whenever, just pick a time. I'm like, okay,
Sure.
great.
I was like, the news is too light yesterday, and I wanted to come in with a punch, so let's go.
So it worked out. So the letter is this one, and it's just god awful. Oh no, this is sorry, that's the treason one. Let me see if I can find the one. We'll get to the treason letter in a minute.
Light treason.
Yeah, so they're releasing them. I mean, literally and one of the things that I want to point out, I think we've passed the tipping point on this, and we're going to talk about that in a minute because I think at this point, unless I'm missing something, there's no way that this is not going to end very poorly for the Trump administration, and I'll explain why. There's a number of things now happening simultaneously. But this is Jeffrey Epstein, an email that he wrote April 2nd, 2011. And he was pointing out that Trump hasn't mentioned anything. Everybody else who knows something about what Epstein's been up to has been talking, but Trump hasn't. This obviously implicates Trump. Epstein is dead. He's got no reason to lie here. Victim, who is not identified, spent hours at my house with him. So this would be an unidentified victim. That means an underage girl spending hours at Epstein's house with Trump. But he has never once been mentioned. So he's also mentioning that Trump hasn't been implicated either, meaning Trump is getting protection from somewhere. The White House replied to this by saying, now, a couple of things just to like, I mean, I don't want to help him get away with anything, but a couple of things. You have an email like that, you could say, we have no idea what he's talking about. He made it up. They were not friends anymore by then. No comment. A lot of things. What they decided to say was the victim named there was Virginia Giuffre. That's their defense. Because she has repeatedly, publicly before she died, come out and said that Trump did not do anything with her. That she was not a victim of Trump's. Now, the consensus is that it's a lie and that she said that because he would literally bring the whole Justice Department on her. But for whatever reason, she has repeatedly said that she is not a victim of Trump's. So they figure, oh, we'll just say she's the, quote, victim here and everything's fine.
And she's dead.
And she's dead.
she committed suicide. So.
But this begs the question. She was presumably an employee at Mar-a-Lago at the time. What was Trump doing in Epstein's house with an underage employee at Mar-a-Lago in a room for several hours? Yeah. They didn't deny any of that. In fact, they implicitly agreed that it was true because what they said was, oh, he was in there with Virginia Giuffre, so everything's fine.
Yeah, Nick, this is the deep cover. Don't you realize that he was placed in there by the FBI to bring this whole thing down? And that's why he was all Don't you?
My bad.
The Q drops, man. You gotta read up on them.
He was a CI. He was a confidential informant. Meanwhile, literally shortly after this, another second victim has come out and said that she was in fact a victim of Donald Trump. So we have 2 or 3 victims of Donald Trump. One from the sworn testimony that we've talked about earlier, which was absolutely gruesome. She described being sexually assaulted by him. We have this victim, and we have now another victim who it's on the Discord. We won't get into it. So as a result, it turns out that Trump really is not as big on the Epstein files being released as he said he was. And he called into the Situation Room, the White House Situation Room, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Caroline Leavitt, and Lorena Boebert, who represents one of the votes on the discharge petition. And they applied pressure to her to get her to not flip or to not vote for the discharge petition, which gets to be voted on as soon as Congress comes back, which they just did, to get the government operating again. So as soon as that vote's done, the discharge petition comes in. So they asked her not to, and they did it in the fucking Situation Room. When asked why are White House officials meeting with Representative Boebert to try to get her to not sign this petition, this was Leavitt's response.
Of Congress and address their concerns. That is the...
Oh, sorry. Let's start it.
But given your interest in transparency, Caroline, why are White House officials then meeting with Representative Boebert in an effort to try and get her to not sign this petition calling for the release of the files?
Doesn't it show transparency that members of the Trump administration are willing to brief members of Congress whenever they please? Doesn't that show our level of transparency? Doesn't that show the level of transparency when we are willing to sit down with members of Congress and address their concerns? That is that's a defining factor of transparency. Having discussions with members of Congress about various issues, and I'm not going to detail conversations that took place in the Situation Room, in the press briefing room. Trump.
It showcases that transparency, maximum corruption, because they're trying to wipe things off of public record so that it doesn't get disclosed. I mean, the ability for these people to doublespeak is just unbelievable.
I know, it's Orwellian. It is fucking crazy. So this was hours before. This was at so like I said, a lot's been happening today. So this was before the opening of the government. So basically, what happened, if I have the order of this correct, the House was gavelled into session, and it was a full session. What this meant was the first order of business actually had to be the swearing in of Adelita Gravala, who has been out for 50 days against the normal precedent because she would represent the 218th vote on the Epstein petition. But Speaker Johnson could no longer do it now that they were reopening the government. She was sworn in. She got to vote on the reopening of the government and voted to reopen it. But before she did that, she did the first piece of business that she had been promised. Now, she said in an interview that shaking her hand with Speaker Johnson, well, actually, I'll skip that because I don't even know how to parse that. She previously described herself as a tourist with an office. It has said, quote, "It has been 50 days since the people of Arizona's 7th congressional district elected me to represent them. This is an abuse of power. One individual should not be able to unilaterally obstruct the swearing of a duly elected member of Congress for for political reasons." Immediately after being sworn in, literally as she was sworn in, she became the decisive 218th member to sign the discharge petition. Once that petition was signed, Jeffries could no longer block it from being block the vote on the releasing of the Epstein files. So this is how it works. The speaker sets the agenda. If the speaker is of the wrong side, you're screwed. You can't have anything that you want come up for a vote unless you can get enough members of Congress to sign a discharge petition. There has been a vote languishing in Congress to release the Epstein files with nothing but the illegal material redacted. And that is part of that would be written into law. They needed 4 Republicans to flip. They got the 4, apparently, despite a meeting in the Situation Room trying to stop them from doing that. And the discharge petition today successfully passed. That means Speaker Johnson is required to hold a vote on releasing the Epstein files within the next 2 weeks. He has already put it on the calendar. It will be next week. So next week, there will be a vote in Congress on the release of the Epstein files. If it passes in the House, the Senate will have to vote on it. And then if it passes in both chambers, it will go up to the president for his signature or veto. This creates a significant problem for him because he has always said he is for the release of the files and the files do not contain him. If he signs it, we will find out if he's lying. If he does not sign this bill, we'll know for a fact he's lying. At any rate, here is another interesting fact. The New Republic reported 3 days ago that a number of conservatives who work on committees that have ties to the FBI and Justice Department were able to obtain their own briefings on the Epstein files, and that, quote, that the Epstein files are, quote, worse for Trump than has been reported by any journalist publicly to date. This has been, The New Republic says that according to their investigation and the number of Republicans that they've spoken with, they believe hundreds of Republicans in the House, which would represent the vast majority of them, will vote yes on the Epstein vote. So they wouldn't vote on the discharge petition. They didn't want to take the hit on that. But in either case, the problem is if you vote no, the only reason to vote no is because you're trying to protect a network of child traffickers. That's the only reason to vote no. These Republicans have said, given what they're hearing and they're telling their colleagues, they wouldn't vote on the discharge petition, but they will in unison vote yes. If they do, that is enough to overcome a presidential veto. So at this point, there is cause to think that there will be enough yes votes next week to override a presidential veto and force the Epstein files out. Meanwhile,
do they have?
Yes?
Within their 60 seats in the Senate too, to 60 votes in the Senate to get
that it doesn't say, but the Senate has the Senate does not work with the intelligence community the same way the House does, and this comes because members of these intelligence committees in the House decided to do their own investigation and talk to their contacts inside the FBI, and this is what they've been told.
Wow, that's really interesting. So it's literally like the old school House oversight rule, like the Congress is doing its job.
Yeah, it's guys who just had enough and said, I want to know what it is, so I'm calling the guys, and it's members who have been in Congress for 20 years, and they're so between that and the Oversight Committee, which despite its chairman doing everything he can to stop it, there are Republicans in the Oversight Committee that are helping. And now the Oversight Committee has said it has more emails it's going to release tomorrow. It appears that what they are doing is deliberately trying to, I know this is shocking, deliberately trying to get interest to snowball and force pressure to get basically everybody to sign the discharge petition so that it's veto proof the first time around as it goes to the White House. Now, nobody knows what the Senate is going to do. You asked a very good question. I don't know. But according to the New Republic, hundreds, there's only like 260 or something, so hundreds would be 200 Republican members of the House intend to vote yes based on what they have described as more than 100 I'm sorry, I had thought it said hundreds, but the quote here is more than 100 Republicans plan to vote alongside Democrats in an effort to get in front of what's coming. That according to reporter David Schuster of the New Republic, that they know what's coming, they know what's in the files, they know it's going to get out, they want to get ahead of it and not be behind it and be defending Trump. So 100 are going to flip. That's 100 is still, that's veto proof. So meanwhile, it looks like they're going to release more information. They have already, since our last show where we covered our last email, they have released another one with Mr. Wolf, in which
that one was crazy, dude. That is, I can't like guys. He put the email signature that this is a confidential email. How did this get out? I don't understand. It's in the email that you can't share this.
There's a technical. I mean, somehow there must have been a glitch.
The ability for him to have the questions that CNN is going to ask him, and then also Epstein is like he is working in concert with them to shape this narrative.
That was the previous one. Yes, if you think, that was the previous one with Wolf, who was the biographer for Trump. Wolf was basically put in a position where, and he said, look, if you think Trump is going to lose, release everything and tell the world what Trump's been doing, and you'll be a hero. You'll be the guy who broke that story. Or if you think Trump is going to win, hide it all, and now Trump will be indebted to you. And that is an insane thing for Epstein to be telling the biographer, who is still alive and apparently knows everything. So he's going to be subpoenaed.
Congress, man.
I know.
Like, what is going on?
I know. And then they dropped this letter after we did our show. Now, we've talked about him being an agent for Mossad. We had our conversation with Commander Lance McMillan, who said, look, you're often an agent with multiple agencies, and the reason is because it's a very murky pond, and once you get in there, you're very open to blackmail. You can blackmail other people, and you end up working for and with other agencies. what I find interesting here is this is Epstein talking about how to let Putin know how to deal with Trump and how to get Trump on his side and how to use Lavrov as a go-between. This is fucking stunning. And to suggest that perhaps Lavrov should talk directly to Epstein himself on how to manipulate the President of the United States. That comes from Epstein's own estate. Holy shit.
It's
wow.
so crazy, man. It's wild. Like, just in case anyone was born yesterday, I just wanted to point out, like, since 2015, these people have been running on the fact that this is a global conspiracy, that this is all in concert, and it's just there is some type of global, like, ring of this stuff, but it just includes Trump. It doesn't involve Hillary Clinton. It doesn't involve adrenochrome. It doesn't involve, like, Comet Pizza, but, like, everything, like, leads to Trump and being really connected to this. And yet somehow, after running on this stuff being, like, a key component in the transparency of this stuff being a key component of his administration, now they're just all sheepish and they're just like, oh, it's just nothing here, man. There's nothing to really look into.
Yeah. Clock on the upper left here usually is the production clock, so we know exactly but right now it's waiting for the Epstein files. It's been 528 days, 16 hours, 25 minutes, and 15 seconds since Donald Trump promised to release the Epstein files. Said that was going to be one of the first things he was going to do. That's how long we've been waiting. And I think they're that important.
Sorry, I just want to interrupt you. Actually, they have, like, binders of the Epstein files that they released. All those influencers walked out. They had binders of it. Like, wait a second. I'm just getting it in from the control panel. Okay, wait. No, those are just blank pages, actually. That was just blank pages. There's nothing in that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. It's a joke.
Please, designer.
It's going to be interesting. I'm very keenly watching for the vote to take place on whether to compel the release of the files or not. In both houses, they get 290 votes in the House. They get 60 votes in the Senate. They have all of the votes that they need to override. I have a hard time believing, I guess maybe not, but they're going to force this vote straight up and down. And so you're going to know whether you're voting to try and protect pedophiles, or if you care about transparency and care about, bringing people who are participating in a pretty large human trafficking ring to be on the record as voting no to release this stuff. I mean, you're going to have some splaining to do there. So I have a feeling that you're going to hit that 290 vote threshold and the 60 vote threshold to go to the president, knowing that they have all of the votes they need to overturn it. What does Trump do then? Does he veto it anyway? And then, even though they have the votes it's a veto proof, he could still veto it and send it back and make them vote again. But is anybody really going to change their mind on that? So I'm very keen to see what this vote's going to turn out to be, or how it's going to turn out to be, and who votes no for this. Because this is right before a midterm election year.
Yep. Right after the shutdown.
Yeah, right after a massive shutdown. That's going to be really interesting. And I wanted these things released, day one as well. And it makes me wonder. He can stop himself from facing any actual justice, I think, from this, but
sort of.
But he could potentially still get impeached for it.
It's as much about the cover up as it is the actual thing, right? This is like Watergate times a million. I mean, this is like the most insane level of corruption that we have seen. I mean, you can't even, but it's just expected. That's what's crazy. And, I don't know. I don't know when the watershed moment will be, right? And I've been wrong every other time. So, when it's gonna happen, I feel like the dam is gonna break, and it's going to be, and it's gonna be a lot of these politicians realizing that their future is going to be tarnished if they're in, as a professional politician to get reelected. They're not going to be able to do that if they're poisoned with this.
They're going to get primaried at a minimum. Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off there.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so they have to distance themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mess for everyone. So let's optimistically here. They achieve all of that, and they do force the Epstein files loose. I'm kind of wondering if we're going to end up with hard drives and hammers again. Ahead of the release, or a sudden document purge someplace and say, okay, well, sorry, Miss Pam Bondi, but instead of the entire administration falling, you're going to fall by yourself, because you're going to fall anyway if the administration does. So you're going to take the hit for everybody, and you're going to destroy as many of these documents as you can. And I don't know how many different places this stuff is stored. I almost have a feeling that there's going to be some sort of purge that happens. There's going to be low-level staffers decided to take it into their own hands to try and stop this from coming out, or for whatever reason, they're going to spin some weird story to try and stop as much of this information from coming out. And if it doesn't, it makes me not just Trump. I mean, it's not just jeopardizing Trump. There's a lot of very powerful and wealthy people that will be coming out of this as well. So it makes me wonder what the total fallout is if they actually get everything passed. They compel the release of these, and if we actually get the release, that's going to be really, dare I say, possibly interesting.
So there's an important, and somebody asked this in the live chat, there's an important question, who's got the video? How many videos are there? There are hundreds of videos. We know this because the New York Police Department seized them. This case was in New York. It was supposed to be prosecuted in New York, in large part explicitly to avoid what just happened, which was anybody who's got a stake in it federally from coming in and shutting it down. Pam Bondi asked for the files. All the files were sent from New York to her, and she admitted that there was loads of, in her words, child pornography. It was all, she's like, I'm not releasing this. Now, what's interesting is all of this was recorded in the 7 floors of Epstein's New York penthouse, which 7 floors, every room, every bedroom, every hallway, every bathroom was bugged, and there was a center that actually had people in it monitoring and recording everything, and he would have these parties, including the one where Trump was for an unknown period of time alone with, according to him now, Virginia Giuffre. Now, I find it interesting that when Pam Bondi was under oath and asked if any such video of Trump with any of these girls existed and if she had seen it, she refused to answer the question. She refused to answer the question. And it's an easy no. All you have to do is say no, and you're not going to get asked the question again because you're before Congress. You either lied to Congress, for which you could go to jail, or you're telling the truth. It's as simple as that. She wouldn't answer the question. So the question is, how and what forum do those get released? And I think that would be best determined by the Oversight Committee, and hopefully the Oversight Committee is going to have a say in what gets released and how. But she now says that there were no other victims other than Giuffre. Well, 200 women testified, and their testimony as Jane Doe's is in the court transcripts that are in the Epstein file, that they're victims of a number of people, including Prince Andrew, who just lost his touch. But he's not no other victims and no other people. Sorry, there was no other perpetrators. Just Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, who's about to receive a pardon. But there's no other perpetrators.
For what reason?
Yeah.
It just so happens she just getting a sweetheart deal.
He does.
You know,
They just let Spartans out.
yeah, we had an open spot, guys. It was just a sweetheart, like nice, the comfy, deal that she got, guys. No relation. Just so happen. It's just. I don't know, man. It is the level of corruption in the Trump administration. Like there has to be, like, this is one of the main things, like affordability, and this whole Epstein thing has to be what the Democrats run on, and like have to have, day one, like, this is what we're going to go after. This is who we're going to subpoena. This is what we're doing, because there has to be some type of justice for this. It is absolutely insane.
Well, and it's the not to wax, philosophically too much, but isn't this the whole point of government? The idea that on some level things are made as equal as possible. There's always going to be the haves and have-nots, but the law applies to everybody, and the whole point is to weed out corruption and to make it so that we all have a government we can live with. And this is the definition of a government we cannot live with, and the number of victims and the idea that this hits so many countries as well. If there's no accountability for this, there's no accountability for anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have thoughts, Zandring. This is a little more your territory, I think, but.
Well, I mean, I've got to do it. I'm sorry. Every once in a while, I have to remind people that I do have some conservative leanings. But the level of corruption in government increases proportionally with the power, scope, and size of the government. And if you want to reduce corruption, you need to reduce the size, power, and scope of government.
Your argument for a more local government is has never been more compelling. And I will say this: that's also why when the president of the United States was murdered in Texas, it was actually not a federal crime. It was a Texas crime, and Texas, the state, had to prosecute Lee Harvey Oswald for the murder of John F. Kennedy in its state. It wasn't being prosecuted by the United States, and there's a very good reason for that. It is precisely that reason he committed the murder in Texas. Having said that, that didn't help in that case either, unfortunately. So, all right. At any rate, literally, this is our third show today. One was scheduled on the judiciary, and we had breaking during that. The other one was a breaking, and now we've got this one that has been interrupted with the breaking that the government is coming back, that the discharge petition has been successfully implemented, and the chairman has been forced to schedule a vote on the release of the Epstein files, an up or down vote. He has scheduled that for next week. I do not know when. But it's going to make for an interesting week. The New Republic is reporting that there will be enough Republicans in their view. Now, the New Republic is partisan, so they're a good source, but they're partisan. So they see everything as rosy for liberals as they can. They say they believe there will be at least 100 Republicans that will vote yay. That should be enough to, if with every Democrat, be veto proof, and it's very hard to see what the Trump administration will do next. The Trump administration had a meeting in the Situation Room trying to get Boebert to change her in the Situation Room. That's where they were on 9/11. They closed the vault door. They're in the Situation Room. They've got Boebert in there. Please retract your signature. Jesus.
Right, you can see the coffee cart just still in there from killing Osama bin Laden from the Obama administration. Yeah. And then they're like get those nasty papers out of the way. Let's talk about my personal corruption. And it's wild.
There was a comment to Pam Bondi's thing. I love this reply to not Pam Bondi, Levitt's. We're being transparent. We told you we had the meeting. She says, have the Epstein file meeting in the secure electronic block soundproof Situation Room. Said no innocent person ever.
Yeah.
I'm kind of fearing and almost expecting the administration to more or less say, great, you have your decision, now enforce it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh,
I mean, that's the problem too, is like what they do release, you know, I mean, with Maxwell going to get a pardon, you know, and everything is going to be redacted to the point of, you know, Trump was just this innocent dude that,
That'll
you know,
be a mistake.
if they do that.
No, if she gets pardoned, that'll be a tactical mistake on Trump's part, because she can no longer, if she's pardoned for it, she can no longer be charged with anything for it.
she can do whatever she
squeal
wants.
like a pig.
Interesting.
And she probably would, because I mean, she's destroyed socially. I mean, who in the heck wants to associate with her in any way, shape, or form?
There was somebody in Trump's inner circle that she also despised. I forget who, but yeah, once she's pardoned, they lose all power over her. And with many people, I see the power of the pardon working. With her, she's crafty. That would be, yeah. He's going to wait until the last minute on that one, I suspect. All right, let me get to the super chats, then we'll get to the topic. It's there's been so much going on. I'm glad you were here to cover it, because you brought in some great insight. Yeah, she won't talk for fear of her life. She'll go live in the just accept the problem. She's dead anyway, I think. All right, so Jester, $5. Question: when Trump pardons her, if she gets subpoenaed, won't she be unable to plead the fifth? Actually, that's true. That is true. So here's the interesting thing. Okay, if she gets pardoned, then if she gets subpoenaed by Congress, she cannot plead the fifth because she is in no jeopardy. The fifth is only prevents you from being compelled to implicate yourself, but for a crime that you can be punished for. She can't do that in this case. She has immunity, essentially. It's the same as having immunity. So I would imagine she would not be able to plead the fifth. Then if she lies, they can't take away her immunity, but they can charge her with perjury. So there are ways to get around it. It's hard. But that is just a really good observation. Once she gets immunity, once she gets, let's see, if she gets pardoned, I'm wondering pardoned versus clemency. That's assuming a pardon. If she gets clemency, it's still probably the same thing, because double jeopardy would apply. In general, they don't make that argument, but you could make it. You can't be tried for the same crime twice, so we're going to ask you about the crime, and if you lie to us, you're going to jail for lying. If you tell us the truth, you're fine, because you were already convicted. So either way, that's a really good, I like that. That's one of those are the things I like about the law. Yeah.
Has any Trump official even answered to a subpoena since 2016? I mean, they've all just stonewalled Congress, and they've never been charged with anything. Or I guess, sorry, maybe that's incorrect. Maybe there is someone.
There are a number who have appeared before Congress without subpoenas. In terms of an actual subpoena, I don't. Maybe somebody answered one.
Don't answer them.
But no. The biggies involved have not answered any of the subpoenas and didn't get in any significant trouble. That was the first sign that the rule of law was starting to break down. There was no enforcement of a congressional subpoena. I mean, it used to be a congressional subpoena. If you saw one of those things, you'd be like, holy shit, am I in trouble? Now it's just like, oh, I was out of toilet paper, so I got this congressional subpoena here. This is perfect. Yeah,
it brings up that statement I said I feel a little bit earlier. There's probably several very powerful and wealthy people that's going to get flushed out in this as well. So they're going to have the influence to be able to probably get some people to take the fall to try and save everyone else, or be compelled somehow to do so. And so I have a feeling we either see low-level staffers stepping in to try and get rid of as much damning evidence as possible, and potentially also people stepping in to say, again, you have your decision, now enforce it.
The other interest, I mean, so Virginia, there's a lot of evidence that, a list was provided to Jeffries of a number of people, and it included a prime minister, a prince, a magician, and a number of, and he said, these people we know were involved. So you've got your list. It's not just Epstein. And he did nothing with it. Now, the prince that they were talking about, we believe there's a couple of princes. We believe there's a prince from Saudi Arabia who was involved as well. We haven't been putting together our list. It's just sort of keeping track of roughly what we hear. But the prime minister, Cameron, has been implicated. But in her book, in Guthrie's book, she describes one of the encounters with a prime minister, and she made it clear that it was not the British prime minister. The only prime minister that leaves left would be Ehud Barak of Israel, who we know knew Epstein. We have multiple emails between Epstein and Ehud Barak talking about the business that they founded together, and a whole bunch of other things. And Ehud Barak actually came up through, I believe it was the intelligence corps. So, and we know that Epstein made his business with Ehud Barak, the head of the Israeli Defense Force, and the head of Israeli intelligence. I've forgotten the name of the business, but at any rate, what she described was sadism in the worst possible way, and from a prime minister of Israel, no less. It's believed to be him. The number of people, it's rare. I'm silenced. I'm just flabbergasted at how many people are involved, how many people are blackmailing, however any other people, including but not limited to the not the KGB, but the FSB and all that. It's insane. It's insane. So,
exactly. And it all comes down to, man, like, I mean, structurally, I mean, it just shows a huge problem in our Constitution. I feel like the fact that the Department of Justice is under the executive and they can't be held accountable to this stuff. I really feel like the DOJ has to be under, like, that whole thing has to be underneath SCOTUS or something now, like constitutionally. It has to be moved over so that, people can be held accountable to. It's too much. The executive has too much power, and Trump has, shown this, and the amount of corruption that they are able to get through, and without any oversight. And it's just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, keep in mind, though, it was under SCOTUS.
Two-thirds of End Time guests, co-hosts, and hosts believe that the federal executive has too much power.
Two-thirds.
I'm well, no, you see, I'm the more liberal one, so Isandering thinks he's being cute, thinks he's being clever. Okay, that's fine. Yes, under SCOTUS right now would be the same thing as under Trump, but we'll save that discussion for another time. Sinister Corpus. Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. I do feel like there has to be some, like, watershed moment after, like, this whole thing comes down, and obviously the corruption. Like, we either are rebooting USA 2.0 with this 2025 Constitution, or we're going back to the 1790s Constitution, and everyone plays by the 1790s Constitution. But, like, the Democrats have to play by these same rules then too, and it's just, I don't know. I don't. There can't be two different rules for two different parties, right? We can't. The Democrats can't be held hyper accountable for all this stuff, and then the Republicans can literally get rid, help and facilitate the cover up of a global sex trafficking ring, and we just say, well, I guess things happen.
That's why I've been so critical of the Trump administration.
Because they have. Is it the coalescing of power or the two separate sets of rules?
Both.
Mm.
Both things. It's like, look, you're supposed to be Republicans, you're supposed to be conservative, and you're not doing any things that are either conservative or Republican. You're expanding the scope, size, power, and spending habits of the federal government. So it's like you're not trying to constrain it to the actual Constitution, and you're trying to set up a double standard, and one that I keep screaming at everybody that supports Trump, that it's like, look, all of these powers and all of these things that Trump is going to do, he is normalizing their use, and they will be used against you. Stop.
Well, I'm saying hopefully because hopefully Trump doesn't get another term. Yeah. Oh, Titan just quoted Hillary Clinton. I think this is the best Hillary Clinton quote. I love this quote. When she always used to say this on the campaign trail. When they go low, we cave in. That's the Democrat quote. Thank you, Titan. It's Hillary there. Sinister Porpoise, $2. There's some hard feelings amongst the in-time crew for the caving in on the what is it on the budget? But there's going to be an up or down on
not here. I genuinely feel like we have a learned helplessness on the Democratic side, and we can't just like fulfill the wishes of the Republicans. And there's so many people that are saying that, like, the 2026 is done now and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like, we have to look at the benefits and look at like the positives going forward. People are having their SNAP benefits, which are the victims in this. They are. We got Trump to go to court to actually argue that they shouldn't have to pay any SNAP benefits to Americans when they're literally going hungry. On Sunday, he was literally going and figuring out ways in order to undo some of the benefits that states were giving to people. I feel like we have to look at the benefit, the positives of it. There's no way that the omnibus bill was going to be repealed through some, budget bill. It's just, I think people had too high of hopes.
That was one of the things we pointed out during as of now that I'm aware of, there hasn't been a single shutdown where the side that was requesting something got even a genuine middle-of-the-road concession for what it was that they were requesting. And this is a perfect example. You could say, well, the Dems got an up or down vote on ACA. Yeah, except that they're going to lose that vote. And even if they win, it's going to be... But I think you bring up an excellent point, which is Trump looks really bad for the things he's done. The problem is the people that need to see that watch Fox News, and they're not putting up... But, I mean, Trump literally went to court to get it so that the states couldn't take care of their own citizens. If the states said, we will make up the difference, which a number of states said, they were not permitted to do. What kind of fucking scumbag do you have to be to say, I'm not going to let the states feed their own people?
Exactly. In an election year about affordability.
Yeah.
This is a one of those kind of, I guess, pithy, not exactly well thought out or nuanced sayings, kind of like the ones I throw away about gun control. Like, I carry a gun because cops are too heavy and generally don't like to be carried. But it's said, it's meant to be pithy. It's meant to be kind of what is the term I'm looking for? Where it's
trite or contrite.
Yeah, contrite. There we go. Thank you. It's meant to be that way, but it's also meant to make you kind of think about something. And I've been seeing one go around in the more libertarian circles that I keep an eyeball on. And it's, if you allow the government to feed you, you're allowing the government to starve you.
Ooh.
The ability to starve you. If you're going to depend upon the government, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. If you depend upon the government to feed you, you're allowing the government to have the ability to starve you. So it's kind of a one of those contrite sayings where it's like, okay, well, this gets a little bit more. You really should look at this a little bit more. But it's also specifically there to make you think about the issues too. It's like if you're going to have people dependent upon the government for their food, you're putting those people directly under the power of the government to also be able to starve them.
All right. So we've had Blonde Bombshell. Are we still going to talk about long COVID? Actually, yes, we are. We're going to get to that.
We swear we're going to get there.
This has been a great discussion, and I've been really enjoying it. Also says Dr. Greg is dreamy. We are going to stop raising the shield on guests that look better than I do, which should probably be just about every guest we have on.
It's impossible.
Oh, thank you. See this? He's so nice.
I've been hanging out for 4 years now, dude. You're looking great.
This is why he has to come on. This is why we always bring him on. He's just $2. Sinister Porpoise. Barbie is a better reporter than Levitt. Yes, I couldn't agree more. Isn't it transparent that we held this meeting that I won't tell you about because it was in the Situation Room between a congresswoman and every member of the Executive Intelligence Committee? I told you it happened. Isn't that transparency? Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody have any final thoughts before we actually talk about the topic?
It's going to be interesting. That's all I can say.
It's going to be an interesting week next week.
Down in another 20 minutes of conversation.
I think there's like a way that Democrats just constantly. I think what happens because there's not a lot of leadership in the Democratic Party, that there's basically a lot of people with one foot out the door, and then they're looking for an excuse to not get involved. And like genuinely, if you are frustrated with how the Democrats acted or what's going on, guys, remember, like, they did really well on Tuesday in an actual election that actually means something, right? So like, use your frustration to funnel your anger, which is totally justified, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't. And this isn't copium, guys. This is like changing your perspective and engaging into the election in 2026 now. Like, who is your representative that's running? Who's your city council member that's up for a re-election? Can you get involved in something? Like, engage into the system. Don't just spin your wheels and throw your hands up, but actually try to get involved. So actually, because of like Tuesday's election, I'm like putting my hat in the ring for, I think San Diego has there's 2 openings on the climate action board. So I'm going to try to
Very nice.
Involve myself there. So there's lots of on boards and commissions. There's non-electoral, open seats that you can just basically apply for. You can contact your city council member, say that your background or what it is, and there's probably dozens if you live near a major city. So and they're open, and nobody applies for this stuff. So it's not like a really hot a problem to get in.
Well, Roe proved that getting those seats that everyone thinks aren't important ends up being important if you get enough of them. And
and gun control too. That's like a thing when the last, people look for that Keller 2008, but it's actually ALEC and all the state legislation that really open carry law throughout the entire United States and brought open carry states. And it was like 1998 was like 2 states, and then now open carry is like over 20 or something now. And that was that was before Keller. So you just got to engage, man. You got to get involved, and that's how we actually start to change things and actually get accountability and representation in our government.
All right. Chester, $2. Sub for the eye candy, stay for Nick's rants. Well, I will take that. Thank you so much. Thank you for your continued support, Chester. We really do appreciate it. And enjoy the awkwardness in chat, yes. All right. So, there's going to be a lot, obviously, going on over next week. If you haven't liked, subscribed, and joined us on our Discord, where we follow all of this, and the breaking news that we cover, often you'll find, and if you look at any of our shows, check the timestamps, you'll see we often break the news before ABC, CNN, CBS, ABC, any of the majors. We beat Reuters and AP from time to time. They're tough to beat, but we do it. So I hope you'll check us out and see what we do, and we're going to stay on this because this is extraordinarily important. One of the interesting stories that has not been talked about a lot aside from the fact that the CDC doesn't exist anymore, which I thought might be interesting to Dr. Greg, is that the mortality rates from COVID have gone down as more people have a natural immunity and as the vaccine goes. Presumably, people get it yearly. This year, the government will not be providing one. But that notwithstanding, the mortality rates are still higher. People are dying more from what I've read of other illnesses, but those mortality rates, heart attacks, so on and so forth, are higher for people who have had COVID. So, Dr. Greg, I wanted to bring you on and talk about that and see if you had any insight or could talk to us about those mortality rates and other mortality factors, and especially some of them in our environment that are causing infertility and other issues.
Yeah, sure, man. I mean, yeah, thanks for having me on. I think the big thing is that SARS-CoV-2 causes COVID-19. So SARS-CoV-2 is the virus and COVID-19 is the disease, just like HIV and AIDS. So HIV doesn't always cause AIDS now, and we've created antiviral drugs to stymie HIV, and we have antiviral drugs and vaccines now to help stymie SARS-CoV-2. And maybe people aren't dying of COVID-19 at the rates that we were dying during the heat of the pandemic, but it's still there. It's still a pandemic, technically, and HIV is still a pandemic, if you didn't know that. So
I did
the
not.
definition of a pandemic is basically the pan, so you can have an epi or a pandemic. Epidemic is like a regional thing, and pandemic is global. So if the viruses are changing genes and recombining their genomes with species or strains that are all across the globe, then it's a pandemic. And basically what that means is that, COVID is still having an impact for people. It's causing things called long COVID now. So honestly, the researcher to follow, if you want to, is called 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐴𝐜. She's a researcher out of Yale. She is amazing and does all the preeminent long COVID research. Basically, so our understanding of long COVID has changed recently. So it's like not just chronic fatigue, but it's actually a lot of things. So it encompasses like vertigo. I've actually had two people actually that came into my stream trolling me, oh, you still care about COVID? You still care about, so, whoa, it's so weird. And then I'm like, yeah, dude, it's crazy. Long COVID causes vertigo. And he's like, what? What do you mean? And I'm like, yeah, dude, like you can just, if you're sick, if you just like stand up, you could feel sick and sick to your stomach, like you're on a boat or something. And he was like, man, that's been happening to me for years. That's crazy. And I was like, yeah, dude, like that. And so he literally came to the realization while he was trying to troll me on TikTok that he was a long COVID sufferer himself because, he thought that the, long COVID was, from the vaccine or whatever. And so there you go. So we're basically long COVID is a neurodegenerative disorder. So we're talking about anything with the mind. So tremors is really common. So you basically tremors are, you can feel like your hands are shaking, but then to the third person, they're completely still. So you can have stuff like that. You can have seizures, and you can have loss of hearing, loss of taste. There's just a lot of things that are associated with it. And we're still understanding this thing. Long COVID is something that happens to about 10 to 15% of people that have developed COVID symptoms. And we've also learned that it's also asymptomatic cases. So asymptomatic means that you don't have the symptoms of COVID. So that means that you have a SARS-CoV-2 positive, right? You have the virus in your system, but you haven't developed COVID symptoms. That's the asymptomatic. And that you can still have it. So what happens is basically SARS-CoV-2 can infest your organs, and then you'll be negative, right? Because maybe it's like for men, for example, you can have your testes be a source of long COVID. So they can literally the virus can infect your testes and just constantly be there, and you can't cure the the virus. You can't purge it from your system, and since the virus isn't like in your throat, you're not going to have any type of COVID test, the antibody test. So
now, is that what I've heard is that's because basically your immune system will not attack the testes.
it's just you're basically unable to purge the SARS-CoV-2 from your system. The virus is a latent infection. Yeah, it's just not able to kill it in whatever way. So it's it's bad, man. I mean, it genuinely is. I mean, it's something that considering how many people were infected because of the pandemic, we are, it's a really high amount of people that probably have long COVID that don't know about it.
And so it's also then people who are asymptomatic, who have never had symptoms, think they've never had SARS-2, and then can infect loads of people because they in fact do have it. And also ones who it's actually also a sexually transmitted disease and can be transmitted by people who would test negative by most tests and yet still carry it in the testes. Is that reasonably accurate?
It's in the sputum. I don't know if that's the case, but it would be. That's a good question. I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, it's just basically the organ gets infected because there's a bunch of ACE2 transmit. Like ACE2 is the handle that it uses in order to infect the cells, and ACE2 is everywhere in the body. So it's just really unfortunate, but. So yeah, we're just figuring it out, and it's like COVID deaths. So the deaths from COVID are down. Like last year, we're talking about like 40,000 people died. This year, it was a little bit lower, around like 12,000 so far. So it's not as bad, which is good, but we still have a lot of cases. The flu is especially bad this year. Actually, the flu, like a lot of young kids are dying because of the flu. So much so that even the CDC is recommending the flu shot for everyone 6 months and above. So and on top of that, we have a measles outbreak that's happening basically in like 45 states in the United States. It's pretty wild. The biggest one is in Texas with over 800 cases. The one that I'm following right now on my channel is like the South Carolina one. They're putting out a great epidemiologist is actually putting out stuff every week, and really good work. So. Yeah,
and in Canada, they've got a measles outbreak in Canada too for over a year now.
Oh wow, really? I didn't know that. I wonder how many cases they have. Measles cases.
You just happened to mention that, and I was like, oh, I just saw that story flash through one of my timeline videos on one of the social medias.
Oh wow, yeah, you're right.
It just broke over a year measles outbreak in Canada.
That's a lot.
So they were removed from the list of countries that had eradicated it.
That's really bad, dude. They have 5,000 cases in Canada, 2,300 in Ontario. That's really high. That's really bad. Oh my gosh. Yeah, guys, measles is one of the most infectious, if not the most infectious disease that we know of in science. We're talking about an R naught anywhere between 12 and 18. And an R naught value is basically how many positive cases you can expect from one positive case. So, So in comparison, SARS-CoV-2 is anywhere between like a 1 and a 3. So it's just, and it's partly because measles can literally stay in the air for hours after a positive person is left. So it takes an incredible amount of epidemiology in order to contact trace and to quarantine people. It looks like they did a really good job of that in South Carolina, so that it kind of stymied the outbreak. They were looking at maybe over 100 kids that might be positive, and it's less than that. So it's good.
Well, let me ask
MMR.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question. Since RFK Jr. is the head of the CDC, have you ever heard of a thing called a vaccine? And if so, would you recommend that people get this thing? And where can they get them if their country, like the United States, is starting to become paranoid about them?
Yeah. So CDC's removing the recommendation for some, so the insurance companies are not covering them as widely, so it's increasing the cost. So what you need to do is go to your physician and ask for them. And guys, like honestly, the MMR is a good thing to check for, because you basically check if you have the antibodies in your body still through a thing called a titer. So they take your blood and then they check and see and react it with little pieces of viruses and see how well your blood does. So if your blood titer is really low, then it's a good idea to get a booster. And and some people actually don't develop like a vaccine robust response to the vaccines, so that's actually why they increased it. So people in younger, basically my generation, and like if you're less than 30 years old, basically you probably have a 2-shot MMR, but the newest one is actually a 2-shot. So anyway, my point is you want to get a titer probably for measles coming up, and measles is a really, really good vaccine. Basically, the effectiveness of a vaccine is really dependent on the incubation time of the virus. So a flu or SARS-CoV-2 is a really short incubation virus. It takes like 2 or 3 days to develop symptoms and to get that whole viral load high enough that it's actually causing symptoms. But things like measles is a longer incubation time. So what it does is it basically gives your body that chance to mount a robust immune response and stop it. So it's really, really important to get vaccinated against things like the measles.
We've heard from certain people in this country who, believe it or not, are not scientists, don't know anything about science, and seem to practice voodoo, for all I know, that these vaccines can, on occasion, actually cause the virus and or contain mercury and other very hazardous chemicals that one does not want. Can you address that issue?
Yeah, so basically what happens when you get a vaccine, so a vaccine is a small part of a virus. So it can be attenuated, and that's a fancy word for, they used evolution so that the virus doesn't kill you anymore, but it's shaped enough like it. So it's kind of like a training dummy, right? It's a training dummy. You're an MMA fighter, and you need to go into this cage match, and you need to figure out what kind of fighter you need to train against, right? And the vaccine is a training dummy. You can get it inactivated in a couple ways: heat or evolution, or you can actually get a small part, just the part that you want, which is the mRNA. That's the idea, is that you create that training dummy within your cells, just a little bit, so that it knows, like, hey, I'm gonna beat this guy by an arm bar, so I'm just gonna generate just his arm and a chest, so I can practice my arm bars or something like that, versus the live attenuated vaccines are a live virus, so it's going to be like a full training dummy, that kind of thing. But what happens is, your body, in order to work out and to train against that training dummy, is going to have to, it's going to have to get a little sweaty. It's going to have to get a little sore. It's going to have to try out these moves, and it's going to, you're going to develop things called, a fever. It's going to feel like you have a fever. It's going to feel like you actually have the virus that's actually infected you, but you're not infected by a virus, and that is not an adverse side effect of the vaccine. And a lot of people say this, like, every time I get the flu shot, I get infected with the flu. No. Your body is training like it is infected by the flu, and every time that happens, I just always think about, like, wow.
To be fair, it thinks it is. Your body thinks it is, and that's kind of the point, because your body will remember and say, "Oh, that was bad. Let's keep up our defenses in case we get attacked again." Is that a good analogy? Okay, all right. So your body thinks it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why it trains the antibodies for it, right? It's training that, like, hey, when I, this training dummy, I'm going to remember this. I'm going to remember how this thing works. So when I interact with that guy that's the same size as the training dummy, I know exactly what to do, what moves to do on him, that kind of thing. So it is yeah, it's important. It's important to have that reaction. And I always think like the important thing is, wow, this is a small amount of this virus. I would feel 10 times worse right now that if I actually had a viral infection. This is, I feel bad now, but just imagine if I actually had the actual virus infecting me.
Yeah,
And
that brings up a point that I wanted to
let me
point
real
out
quick.
about viruses.
Let me real quick. Also remember, it's not just you feeling sick, because somebody may say, "Well, I get so sick for all of these things." If you don't take if you don't take the well, I'm starting to get tired and forget words. Sorry, if you don't take immunization, if you don't get immunized against it, and the vaccine, thank you, and you end up going into a population of people who either can't get vaccinated or are for some other reason immunocompromised, you could end up killing other people. So it's not just about you and how it makes you feel. It's about keeping people who can't take it safe. Sorry for interrupting you, Andrew. Please continue.
Really?
Oh, that's fine. Anytime you put something in when it comes to vaccines, this point was made, I believe, I'm sure it's been made by lots of people. The person I saw was Dr. Tyson. It's like, sure, anytime you put something into your body, that it comes with associated risks. There are going to be some risks to vaccines. Some have slightly higher risk profiles than others. But you always, the whole point of vaccine is risk management, and you're trying to manage risks. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to take this small little bit of risk that I could possibly have some sort of reaction to this vaccine to minimize the massive risk of all of the effects of getting the actual disease. So it's
exactly.
Yeah, I'm taking on a small risk in this vaccine in order to prevent the much larger risk of the much more serious complications of the actual disease itself.
Exactly. Yeah. The risk reward benefit isn't with me sitting in my room by myself and getting a vaccine or not. It's me going into a room, being exposed to someone with the virus, getting that virus which causes the disease, and then that disease and having the ability to kill me, and then spread that disease to other people. So what happens is we focus on the vaccine side effects because people don't live in a world where these viruses are causing rampant diseases and killing people. We forget because we aren't there. We aren't students of history enough. But basically, before antibiotics, before vaccines, 50% of kids used to die. 50%. So I have 4 kids. I'd be lucky to have 2.
Yep.
If I think about that. But I think
we've really done a disservice. Service to especially the younger generations growing up when they got rid of the Oregon Trail, because then you understood what it was like to have so many people die of dysentery.
Exactly. No, we're talking about 30 different diseases that vaccines stymie and stop. It's incredible. And you guys, just think about the impact a single virus had on our lives, right? The pandemic, that was a big sea change moment that everyone remembers. Right? Now imagine you have 20 more viruses that are staging outbreaks, constantly in outbreaks. You liked lockdowns before, guess what? Well, you're going to have lockdowns times 30 now, because now you have, measles, you have rubella, you have, whooping cough, you got all these different things coming up, polio, all these different types of diseases coming out because people are refusing to get vaccinated. And what are you going to do? You're going to feel your freedom, your liberty in order to go out and go to a concert, right? It's going to be stolen. You're not going to be able to go to a place with 100,000 people and feel free there. You're not going to be liberated sitting inside your house because you feel that like I can't go out. And and then you're going to be praying for a mask. You're going to be praying for a vaccine, but the vaccine isn't going to be, there's going to be too much mutation. Basically, you want to. This is what herd immunity is. Basically, you're creating a scenario where the viral population is really low, so it can't combine and it can't mutate, and you keep the amount of viral genomes out there to the minimum.
I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask anyway. Why is COVID-19 called COVID-19?
Because it came out in 2019.
Thank you. What were you going to say, Andrew?
I said how quickly we forget about 1917.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
that was a huge one.
Or polio.
There's been a lot of like really big pandemics, man, and 1.2 million people died from the pandemic in the United States. 1.2 million. We are ranked like 200th in the world, on it. And for deaths per capita, it's a shame that we have let so many people die. And it's really sad. I mean, unvaccinated people were 10 times more likely to die during the height of the pandemic. 300 there was a Lancet post-mortem about how we did as a country, and we did awful. So about 300,000 people died because of vaccine hesitancy in the United States alone. 300,000 people died because of awful executive actions that Trump did specifically. So if you remember with the cruise ship, remember the cruise ship off of the coast of California, stuff like that, where he denied that it existed, denied it, and he overrode the CDC's protocol to let those people in through quarantine. The CDC was going to go in with PPE gear, we're going to test them before they come in. The DHS overrode them, came in, didn't go with any PPE, let them out in Southern California. Like nothing. People were coming in. Europe was closing down, right? Europe was closing down, and people came in. Was like, oh, I need to get an early flight so I don't get trapped in Europe. We didn't do any type of quarantine or testing of any of those people coming in, and they all came back. And we can do epidemiology and track the mutations from Europe. And guess where all the COVID came from? It came from Europe, a majority of it. So we know how many people died from that and from those events and from his mismanagement. There's a couple more events that are kind of really bad, like overriding the USPS from sending out masks to everyone. That did a tangible harm, and it's just I don't know why people lost their lives because of Trump's mismanagement and vaccine misinformation.
And the degree to which the U.S. has become anti-science is staggering, and Fox News is part of that. But why we suck it up? Why Americans, we seem to suck it up and just drink from the well of ignorance is, I think, worth its own show and topic. Xander, do you have? Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I totally agree on Bad Science Sunday. You should have Greg on this Sunday, 8:30.
Cool.
Absolutely have him on. I don't know who you've got. Preempt whoever you have coming on. This Sunday,
Bad Science.
just have him on instead. You don't have to have on any news-related show. People just saying. All right. Anyways,
I think like anti-intellectualism has a strong root in American history. The Know Nothing Party, for example. I mean, we're talking. This goes back a long time. People misunderstand patriotism for personal freedom, and they don't think that public health is something that they have an individual right to. They don't an impetus in order to push and help. But I do think that what's happened and what's changed, and you can actually see this with the amount of Republicans that don't accept germ theory now. I mean, this is a big problem. Genuinely, 30% of Republicans do not agree with germ theory, and it is the polls say it's specifically Republicans and not just Democrats, because this whole thing that science is no longer trustful because of the pandemic, that's not true. Democrats still trust science. It's specifically just a Republican thing, and that it's specifically a question of are viruses more dangerous than the diseases? No, or are vaccines are vaccines more dangerous than the diseases that viruses could pose? Which is basically saying, do viruses cause disease, right? Do viruses actually cause disease? And yes, obviously they do. But what happens is that there's these conspiracies out there that germ theory isn't real, that we've never isolated a virus before, and you'll hear this terrain. This is the terrain model of health, that people don't actually get sick from viruses and disease, that it's an environmental thing. And this is where 𝐬𝐜𝐻 comes in. So 𝐬𝐻 tells you that, oh, it's actually, you're not getting sick from viruses and disease. You're getting sick because of microplastics and vaccines and food dyes and that kind of thing. So that's how this kind of whole thing wraps up now. And now people, it's more than you would think, guys. I've been telling you, and it's wild. And my TikTok chat, I specifically do not ban people for believing, wrong things. And when I say this, the people are like, there's like messages of like, no way, and then this person's like, yeah, right, yeah, exactly. We've never isolated a virus, and I'm like, there it is, guys, there it is.
Here's what I'd like to do. Please.
The thing that kind of irritates me about the whole thing is because you can see some again when I talk about RFK, and it's like, okay, there's some things I'm like, yeah, great, awesome, and then his zombie worm rears its ugly head, and I'm like, oh my God, no. Like the push to get microplastics and artificial dyes and some of these chemicals and stuff out of our food, and the fact that we're eating ultra processed food. It's like, yeah, it is making people sick, but that doesn't discount what viruses do to us. As a matter of fact, it makes things worse. It's like, stop supplanting these things. Stop trying to mash these two together to eliminate one to follow your own narrative. When COVID was going on, I pointed out that, hey, we're taking a kind of a split approach when it comes to an actual pandemic. And I don't think that it's going to work out well. And obviously it didn't. I mean, we scored incredibly hard. It's like you need to pick a way to go. You're either going to leave everything open and go along like this is just a regular flu and leave it incumbent upon individuals to decide what they're going to do, or you're going to treat this like a serious pandemic and you're going to take the actions necessary. And weirdly enough, the person of limited federal government and federal power was going, this is clearly an avenue where the federal government ought to have the power to do this, because you can't expect a single state to set pandemic responses, nor should we allow a single state to do that. That is clearly in the purview of the federal government. And it's like we tried to split the baby in the bathwater and ended up throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So, it was a terrible thing, and it just reinforced a lot of really negative propaganda that's going out there. It's like I tried very hard to see what the actual science was saying about things, because I believe that science actually works, and that we've learned amazing things and done amazing things because of scientific breakthroughs. And it irritates me when people start trying to mash these things together to come up with it's not viruses making you sick. Why it's all of the added chemicals in vaccines plus our diet that's making you sick. And it's like, well, I agree with part of that. The diet is making people sick and possibly more susceptible to diseases and the effects of diseases, the consequences. But viruses are a real thing that do real harm. And maybe you should really look into vaccines, because many of them have done some amazing things. It's like we don't see polio in the United States anymore. We don't generally see smallpox. And now I'm actually genuinely concerned. We're having all these measles outbreaks. So when's smallpox coming back? That killed a lot of freaking people.
It's the number one killer in the 1900s. So we've eradicated one virus on Earth, and that is smallpox. So it is gone. Polio was almost eradicated, but unfortunately it had some pockets in Africa, so it's still there. There interestingly, in the scientific community, there is a debate on whether or not one of the last inoculums of smallpox in the CDC in Georgia should be destroyed or not, is like still a question. But the scientific community thinks that if we genetically modify it and use it in research, it'd probably be a better thing to use. So it's still there, and they added a green fluorescent protein to it to better study it and track it. But anyway, but I think that the real cause of this stuff, and why you've seen, and in the graph that I'm talking to about the 30% of Republicans that don't believe that viruses are real, there's a huge shift up in since 2020, and it's obviously because of the pandemic, right? But it's also, we forget that this is the time, specifically now in the last couple of years, that AI has taken over social media feeds, and that these social media feeds are being tailored to people that are skeptical or conspiratorial in mind, and then now they just hammer in every single conspiracy video to you one after another. It's not just like than before in 2015, 2016, which is like you're basically being filtered to, kind of like the internet content filter, in Facebook or something, is going to be like, do you check these dots, and then we're going to give you something that's within those dots. This is different now. Okay, everyone has their own individual AI that is being tailor made to mess with you, and they're trying to see what gets you going and what actually you'll click on. And for a conspiratorial person that thinks that the lab leak is real, which is, by the way, not supported by science at all. There's not a single piece of
You were all
evidence.
wait, was it Ms. Andring, did we have on Greg, or we had on Homozygote? I think we had both of you guys on for that one. That was a banner show. Yes, that was
my last
it's
my last stream on the peer review was 2021, doing the SARS-CoV-2 origins. I was like, I'm trapped in a Groundhog Day doing the same thing. But yeah, it's true. Like, once you believe, like, think about it, like, once you believe that SARS-CoV-2 was made in a lab, then that means that there's scientists that are working together in order to cover something up. So that means that how easy is it for them to cover up flat Earth now, or cover up dinosaurs, or to cover up gravity? They're already in concert. They're already working together now. And I'm telling you, man, I this is the joke. He's doing good, Regwin. I talk to him a lot, still in DMs and stuff. So this, I call it the list, and this is the list of scientific consensus that I'm curious about, whether or not you accept these things, and if you're anti-vax or conspiratorial. And I mean, it's pretty boilerplate stuff. Like, is germ theory real? Do we have an immune system? Is the lab leak real? Is the moon landing fake? Is space fake? Is it a projection? Is there a flat Earth? Is there a 6,000-year-old Earth? Is gravity real? Is evolution real? Are dinosaurs real? Is climate change actually happening? Are vaccines safe and effective? And is plate tectonics real? So the question there is kind of like, one, a person that believes that viruses aren't real, like, believes like 90% of those those conspiracies, right? They take it all in. A foundational conspiracy like that really entraps your entire ideology, and you just really can't get out of it. But it's interesting, though, and I ask those questions, and this is genuinely my tact, and what I recommend for people is ask questions for people that are in your life that are like this. Ask questions, and ask about scientific consensus questions, not trying to own them, right? You're trying to understand why they believe the things that they believe. But the interesting part is, well, if they believe in one of those scientific consensus questions, why do they believe that one? Why do they believe that dinosaurs are real, but they don't believe that viruses are real? Right? Maybe they've had they loved dinosaurs as a kid, something like that. And so now it's like, oh, okay, so maybe we can, use why you believe, dinosaurs being real, and transfer that to, viruses, that kind of thing.
There's a problem with that, though. And one of the problems is you can't reason somebody out of a position they didn't reason themselves into.
yes.
And one quick little thing, bubonic plague is absolutely still around. It exists in nature in the Southwest in rodents, and there are occasionally cases every year of bubonic plague. But thankfully, now forgive me if I get this wrong, because it has been a long time since I've done any kind of research or any kind of, I hate to say research, any kind of reading on bubonic plague. But I believe it's a bacterial infection carried by fleas, and so it's very easily treated and gotten rid of today.
So let me quickly just say two things. One, the shutdown is officially over. Trump signed the bill about 8 minutes ago. So the shutdown is now officially over, and the government is officially funded to January, where we could go through all of this again, with the exception of SNAP and other things. That's another reason why the cave wasn't as big as it may have seemed, because it's only a continuing resolution, but for Veterans Affairs, SNAP, and Congress is still going to get its funding. Also, on the bubonic plague, I think we average about 7 cases a year, most of them out of New Mexico. I have no idea why, but having said that, whatever Dr. Robertson says in the live chat, I would go with. Not only is she got a PhD in biology, she's one of the smartest human beings I know. So I tend to listen to Dr. Fiona Robertson, and I'm delighted that she's here to talk on this subject, because obviously it's close to her heart. She's really extraordinarily good at it. So anyways, having said that, where were we? Oh, I did want to bring up, I had a friend who refused to wear seatbelts, and the reason she refused to wear seatbelts was because she said, well, here's the thing. Seatbelts make the accident less bad, and there are people who get paralyzed by the seatbelt, and they wouldn't have been paralyzed if they hadn't have been wearing a seatbelt. I don't want to be paralyzed because I can't think of anything worse than that, so I don't wear a seatbelt. And it's like, yeah, but the likelihood that you would be paralyzed without the seatbelt is greater than the likelihood with the seatbelt, or even that the seatbelt would cause that injury, which it can do. There are cases where seatbelts actually make the injury worse, but those number of cases are so much fewer than where they save the life and make the whatever injuries you do get significantly better. It's just, yeah.
I mean, 4 million kids are saved every year from vaccines because, basically they're too young to have an immune system that is functional, that can actually combat a lot of this. 1 million adults are saved every year. So we're talking about like a ton of people that have, and we're talking like specifically kids. Again, 50% of kids used to die. It's 50%. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
And that was even higher. The farther back in time you go, the higher that percentage gets. Sure. Yeah.
Well, in polio, we forget how bad polio was and how many kids were stuck in iron lungs, and my father said, look, everybody in school was terrified. They were terrified to go to school because kids were getting it. And every school had polio patients who ended up getting paralyzed. Every school in the country. It was that prolific. And, all of a sudden the polio vaccine gets invented, and the guy who invented it decides that because he's big pharma, I guess, and because pharmacists are so big pharma only wants to make money, he's going to give it away for free, and makes the polio vaccine available for free. I listen. I've heard of people going to Wall Street to make money. Big pharma wants to make money. You know how they're going to make money? By curing cancer. Why is that going to make money for them? Aren't they going to get more money treating it? No, they're going to get more money curing it. And the reason is because you're going to live longer, and then you're going to need more cures for the new diseases that you get because you're living longer. Big pharma
pay the bills.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, living people, there's so much more money to be made in people living longer. It is utterly absurd and a complete, profound lack of understanding of how the economy works to think that somebody would keep the cure for cancer secret because they could make more money treating people. No, not even close. Not even close.
I mean, if one were conspiratorial, I'm not proposing that this is real, but like genuinely, I mean, the people that would be seeding these anti-vax groups would be pharma themselves, right? Because they are, just like you're saying, I mean, it's $100 vaccine versus $40,000 a case in Oregon for, the measles outbreak that happened last time. I mean, we're talking tons of money that would be made in these hospitalizations versus just a vaccine, which isn't like a high profit margin item. Like it just isn't.
No, it's not. And actually, to tell you the truth, that's actually the scary thing. And I think I said this the last time I had both of you guys on, was what scares me is what happens when people with a penchant for conspiracy theories actually gets educated and then comes up with this is how they'd really do it. If somebody wanted to run a sex trafficking ring in the world and wanted to get away with it, this is how they'd do it. Yeah.
Yeah, or like your oddball interests like in astronomy, lead to like very real possibilities that could actually happen. It's like you have all these conspiracy theories about the end of the world, and then it's like, oh, we'll just learn about our sun, and you don't ever have to worry about a conspiracy theory ever again. So yeah, the thing that annoys me about a lot of the conspiracy theories and the spreading of it and the misinformation and the unreasonable positions that people take in, either because all of their buddies are doing it and they're a part of this crowd and they want to be in with them. I see that a lot with kind of the MAGA, much more conservative movement, where they're like, well, I didn't really think there was a problem with COVID, but now everybody's got this, the circles that I'm in, they're all, oh my God, it's causing all this myocarditis and it's causing all this and that and everything. And it's like, oh, I'm never getting that stuff in me. And then you have somebody sitting over there going, well, I didn't think it was all that bad, but now I got to fit in. So yeah. Oh, really? Myocarditis. Oh, that keeps coming up all the time. And it's like, oh yeah, it's causing all these it's worse. The risks of the vaccine are far worse than the risks of actually getting COVID, even though they have zero statistical data to back that up. And the thing that infuriates me is like there was a lot of potential application of mRNA technology, and we're seeing reductions in funding in it.
Yes.
And we're seeing a kind of a public pushback or resistance to continuing that kind of research. And I really dislike shutting down areas of research because you never know what completely new area that you're going to discover in that. And the kinds of things that can come out of it. I mean, who in the hell would have ever come up with penicillin out of a damn mold? I mean, it's like we're gonna miss out on our next penicillin breakthrough because there's a public backlash against things like mRNA research. And there's some people looking into the possibility of using mRNA technologies as treatments for different kinds of cancer. And it's like, you're going to shut down all of these potential things because you have feels that it's a bad thing, because you certainly aren't bringing any actual data and statistics to this, because if you did, you'd find out very quickly how wrong you are. But they didn't reason themselves into that position. And that's what frustrates me about it. It's like I may have very strong conservative leanings when it comes to things like economic policy, monetary policy, et cetera. Socially, very liberal, and maybe that's what saves me. But I'm like, okay, great. Let's cut the government in half. Let it not do as many things as it is. But let's really focus on actual scientific research, and let's look into this, because that's what's going to make our lives better. That's what's going to solve most of the problems that politicians aren't going to be able to solve right now, because it would be political suicide to try and do it. So they're just going to wait until it becomes a crisis, and then it's not my fault. I didn't hurt you. Well, now it's a crisis. We can respond. Hey, I'm going to be the hero and save everyone. It's like, well, you could have solved this, like 30 years ago, but no, you just had to kick it down the road because nobody was willing to stand up and actually do anything about it. It's frustrating.
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating.
Thoughts on that?
I mean, the myocarditis rates that you're talking about, so the stats on that, it does happen, like with the vaccine, it's a known side effect, but the myocarditis rates of COVID itself, the disease, again, the comparison is the disease versus the vaccine, not, that's what we're actually comparing. So it's 600% higher if you actually got infected with SARS-CoV-2 versus the vaccine. And vaccines actually help prevent the viral load from getting higher, so you actually stymie a lot of those cardiovascular events. So if you're worried about myocarditis rates, or anyone else is worried about myocarditis rates, you get the vaccine every time because it protects you. There's actually some incredible things that we're learning, to go to your point about the mRNA vaccine technology. There's a paper out last week that's actually showing that they found a really interesting thing in mice models, basically, that this mRNA, and it's RNA, it's encompassed by lipid nanoparticles. That's like what the technology is being used. It's been used since 2015 for personalized gene therapy approaches for cancer. So you're right, it's like anti-cancer drugs, and then they brought it out in the pandemic because you could easily change the sequence of the DNA or the RNA really easily. You can easily change the DNA that makes the RNA. But anyway, the idea is they found in mice that these mice were living longer when they injected them with mRNA encapsulated with lipid nanoparticles, and they were living longer with cancers. So their hypothesis was that the immune system was revving up in response to the mRNA lipid nanoparticle and fighting the cancer easier. So they were like, well, if this is true, then we should be able to see it through all the cancer patients that have gotten the mRNA lipid nanoparticle vaccines from COVID since they came out. And they did a retrospective study on seeing that, and sure enough, it's true. The humans that got the mRNA vaccines from COVID lived longer with their cancer treatments, like way longer, like so much so that they were actually had to put a cutoff because they weren't dying from the study. So we were just learning this. This is just coming out last week. So we definitely need to like study this more. Systematic reviews, meta analyses, and all that kind of stuff. But it is a really interesting thing. And to go to your point again, like this is the mRNA and lipid nanoparticle delivery is just a really good way of delivering the next generation of molecular biology tools. So again, this last week, basically they used Cas9 and CRISPR to knock out the blood pressure part of the liver, or something that basically people with high blood pressure got this treatment that was CRISPR that targeted their liver, and they don't have to it seems like they have this prolonged ability to keep their blood pressure low so that they possibly won't have to use statins. So it's like there's just awesome, cool technology that is being enabled by this delivery. And I do want to say, you're right that they are attacking this stuff and you were talking about the amount of money that was pulled from the HHS to study the mRNA and lipid nanoparticle delivery, but there are bills all throughout the country right now that are trying to ban mRNA technology altogether. So there's a bill in Minnesota that is trying to label mRNA technology as a bioweapon, and they're trying to ban it. There's 4 in total. The AP did a story about this, and they found 423 anti-science legislation going through all the states. And I say anti-science as in like this isn't just anti-vaccine laws. We're talking about like anti-public health. So there's laws that are like banning epidemiology. You can't do contact tracing. You can't do quarantines. Like as someone that's sick, that has the measles, they are trying to pass laws to say that you cannot say that person should quarantine. And of course they're attacking, making it against the law to administer mRNA vaccines, making it a crime. You could lose your license, your medical license, if you give a vaccine during a pandemic. So that's actually so anyway, this happened like two and a half weeks ago. And I read this AP article and I was just like aghast. Like, this is like, what is happening? And I kind of like changed the direction of my stream a little bit so we are basically organizing to try to stop this from happening. So we are, I have like 9 of these bills that we're targeting, and I make email and phone call templates for people, and then they make these actions and they do their calls, they do their emails, and then they come onto my stream and they say, oh, I did an email or something, and then we track them. So this is what the political actions right here. So we've done 432 emails and calls in the last 3 weeks. So if you go to action.drgregshow.com, that you can like see it. It's just a Google spreadsheet, but a Google Doc explaining like what's going on, and then we identified key people in the state legislature to call and contact, and people have been doing it, man. It's been awesome. But check your state, guys. Genuinely check your state, see what's going on. If you want, I paid to have access to this website that kind of like gives me all the things. We can look at your state and everyone needs to be contacting their state legislators to make sure that this stuff dies in these, because they're early, right? A lot of them are early in the stage. They're still in committee. They haven't passed the lower house, but now is the time, right? Now is the time that you push pressure on the Democrats to hold strong. Do not vote no for sure. And then these swing voters that are usually like Republicans or something that have been physicians. They're the chair of the House Health Committee, and you're going to say yes to this thing that makes it a crime to administer an mRNA vaccine? Like, no way, man. So anyway, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Well, let me quickly. I think we should get that on the Discord. We've also got Greg's link tree. We've been taking that out, as well as his TikTok channel. He is a friend of the show. He's been on repeatedly. He is a good guy, as you can tell. and he knows what he's talking about, as you can tell as well. And us being an educational program, that kind of agenda is something we very much support. So I hope those of you listening will look at the education, in my view, is the silver bullet. That's why I have an educational program, and I think Greg very much, you can see he's nodding, agrees. And so I hope you will go check out his channel, see what he's doing, and we are going to have you back just to discuss the anti-science in this country and where that's going, because I think that's an interesting topic that we've talked about but never actually had. We also had, and I want to do this because I think this may be just to correct some information that was out there. So we had a question: strange that Pfizer would do the official trials right off, like who is really that stupid, has to be an act. Your thoughts on that?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. What, the trials, the original trials that happened?
I think so, yes.
Okay, yeah. So what happened is they went through all 4 of the trials. They weren't abbreviated trials. They went through the entire thing. It's just the fact that Project Warp Speed, what happened so that the trials overlapped. So you can look up, like BioNTech, Pfizer, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and they published all the data. You don't have to listen to me. And the stage 2 specifically of the Moderna vaccine, I mean, we're talking one of the most the highest efficacy vaccines that we've ever done. I mean, it is a 94.1% efficacy when most flu vaccines is around 60 to 70%. So these are some of the best vaccines that we've ever done, and it's a patriotic thing, man. These are American ingenuity, American technology. Like this is the point that we can come together and be proud of. That we did this. This is something that we provided for the world. This is a good benefit. This is a quality of life.
Except for China, we didn't give it to China. So if you're mad at China too, you can be a patriot. Take these vaccines, and China doesn't have them. China has their own, which is only at about 60% effective. Last I checked, and Russia. So
and Russia too.
Anyways, apologies for interrupting, but when you said patriotic thing, I was like, it's true. It's not a joke.
Yeah, guys, and if you're a capitalist, I mean, these are ways that the American companies and ingenuity, they're all fighting each other, right? So in regards to secret things that could be in it, there's a lot of conspiracies about graphene oxide or something found in the Moderna vaccines. Like who would be the biggest person or the biggest entity that would want to blow that up, right? It would be Pfizer. Pfizer has all the technology and they're checking, dude. They're checking Moderna's vaccine to see if it is what it is, right? And that is such an easy thing to test. That'd be a spectrophotometer, with 10 seconds, an undergrad could do that. It's so obvious. So that is a big thing about the vaccine, and it started. I'm not anti-vax. I'm just anti this vax, right? And that's what everyone said. It's.
I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, it's the emergency use authorization. That's the thing. And once the FDA approves it, then I'll be okay with it. FDA approval comes. Are they taking it? No. So it's people. They feign as a skeptic, which is fine. Skepticism's fine. I totally respect skepticism, and I will talk to someone. That's the whole point of my channel, right? That's the whole. Me as a science communicator, I love answering good faith questions. I will talk to someone for 2 hours, to chagrin of my entire chat, and they hate me for it. Because it's important. It's important, and it's really important. And but what's happening is that it's not skepticism; it's contrarianism, right? They don't care what the data is. They don't care what's actually happening, and now they just no, I don't agree with science at all. That's wrong. I want all natural, man. I don't want anything, no chemicals in my body, and it's like. It's exhausting, guys. I think that we've coddled anti-vax people for too long, and we have to tell them that this is not okay. You're harming people. This is a danger, and it's not okay. People are lying to you. I'm not going to lie to you, and it's not okay to harm other people.
Yeah, people, it's like, oh, I want to go natural. We got to eliminate these forgetting that, the only reason that there's 8 billion people on Earth and we aren't in a famine, as was predicted back in like the late 70s, is because of chemicals. It's like, I don't know about you, but I think it's kind of nice that, we have produce enough food to actually feed the people that we feed. And there's still some areas that need help. But it's like, the only reason we've gotten to the point that we are today is because of, chemicals. It's like, again, it comes back to the whole risk analysis. What is the risk of having and using some of these chemicals? And granted, some of them I think probably do go over the line, and we should probably ban some of them. But it's like, we should probably do some risk analysis and get evidence to back up what we decide. Because chemicals aren't all bad, and the risk of that they may. The chemicals are allowing life to go so far that the chemicals can actually become a problem. It's like, well, without them, you wouldn't have made it to this age to have any of these problems anyway. So maybe we should be at least a little bit thankful that we've had the kind of ingenuity and breakthroughs that we have had that allows you to have this life where you can sit back and say, but my feels, and not look at any evidence and say it's all bad. We need to ban all this stuff. And it's like, stop reasoning, or don't bother to reason yourself into these positions, and defend them against all reason.
I love the one who's eating a banana or an apple or bread and says, I don't eat GMOs. I would never eat a GM. It's like, do you realize how many GMOs? It's just a different method. That's what we're talking about. It's a GMO.
We have been genetically modifying organisms since the inception of agriculture.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly, Andrew. That's exactly right. I mean, and so I do molecular biology. As a scientist, that's kind of like what my trade is. And basically I genetically modify organisms for a living. I'm
still waiting for my sorry to suddenly jump in and cut you off. I'm still waiting for my algae diesel.
Algae diesel.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you know what, dude? Guess what? The Inflation Reduction Act got $10 billion for algae research, dude. And so it was actually going, and that was part of the $400 billion that got rated for Elon Musk and Bezos and stuff. So it is the saddest thing that we are actually on. We were on that track, man. We actually had that infrastructure. We are on that renewable and sustainable energy production track, and our future got ripped from us. It got stolen from us, and they stopped renewable energy programs that were 90% done, that we had spent billions of dollars into, and they just stopped them. Wind farms all across the United States, solar arrays stopped. Why? Because it's just an ideological thing that they have. And guess what now? What's the big thing? Energy prices going up all throughout the country because of these data centers. So, man, if only we had $400 billion for, to build out our infrastructure and our grid and our energy production. And it's beyond asinine, like what happened. I mean, narrow-sighted, every word, every superlative.
I did want you to finish that thought, and then I'm going to start wrapping up. You were saying, so you microbiology, and I think you were going to get, and then Xander, because I too want the algae diesel, and I'm a little upset. But yeah.
I think the big point, to take away is like, you can't be an expert in everything. That is the biggest thing. As a content creator, as someone online, as a everyone has access to social media now. You know what I mean? And everyone is forced to have a take and feign expertise on something that you don't know a lot about. And that's okay to say, I don't know, I don't understand what's going on. That's totally fine. To be honest with you, I have a PhD in microbiology. It's hard for me to say I'm an expert in microbiology because there's so much stuff I don't know. You know what I mean? Like the amount of people that are just lying on the internet, and just to have a take, just to have an opinion, and people listen to those people. They listen to it, and it's just you can't be an expert in everything. You have to trust not experts, not individuals. Don't even believe me. Genuinely, I don't want people to just believe me as a scientist. I would love for you to read the papers, right? In regards to lab leaks, like Picard, Warraby 2022, 2024, Picard, Chris Christoph 2024. These are amazing papers that are, those are the pinnacles of science and peer review and our reproducibility. And, look to that, look to that institution of science, not to me personally, right? I mean, that's the idea, is that, we don't have these gurus that are leading us through this thing. It's that we have a process and an institution that we have built up over time in order to create institutional knowledge, so that we can fall back on that and be like, man, it's so nice that I don't have to learn population genetics to understand whether or not there's a natural zoonotic spillover event in Wuhan. It's like so nice. I can just, people that have dedicated their lives to population genetics got it. They've got that on wrap.
That's the true underlying strength of science, though. Is it's not about individuals at all. It's about, what all of these individuals are doing and all of the people double checking that. It's one of the reasons why I have so much confidence in science, the entire process of it. It's like, no, you're not relying on single individuals and say, take my word for it. That's why it's not an oligarchy.
Well, it's a method. It's a methodology. Had Einstein not discovered what he discovered, somebody else would have. So even though he gets so much credit, the reality is these things are waiting to be discovered. That's what the scientific method does. It does make a few assumptions. One of them is that there are laws and that they can be discovered by testing and observation. And when you do that, guess what happens? We discover these laws. And if it wasn't us who discovered them, somebody else would have. And sometimes they get discovered at roughly the same time by different people. Not electricity, was was it the telephone? No. Who stole the light bulb? I don't remember. At any rate,
Edison and Nikola Tesla were going at it.
Yep. And it was to discover how things work and what is true, and it's always subject to further refinement. But it's as close to any truth as we seem to ever be able to get, and it allowed us to take a human being living in Texas, put him on the moon, which happens to be spinning as we spin, and it's in orbit around us as we're going around a planet, and he got out, walked, did a little jig, got on his spacecraft, came back, and landed in Texas. That's science. I'm rather impressed by that. I can't do that. Greg here can't do that, but we didn't have to. That's it's the most successful endeavor in human history and has accomplished more in the last 400 years than all human beings did in the 100,000 years before that. I'll take it. It's not guaranteed, but nothing in life is. It's good. It's very good. All right, final thoughts, Xandring, before we go. Yes.
My final thought is I only have to take exception with one thing that you said. And that's that none of us can, is that everything else, I love it. Thanks for coming on. It's awesome to have you on. It's always enlightening every day. It's like I get to learn something new. And, but the only exception I have is when you said that none of us can be experts at anything. And I have to disagree because, of course, I am obviously an expert on everything. It's the only reason that Nick actually, hired me and pays my, six-figure salary to appear on this show. But other than that, awesome. Thanks for coming.
And nobody, let's all remember that, and that's how it goes. Please, nobody call Bellevue or any other related organization. Everything's fine. He keeps coming so long as I pay those checks, which are in the mail every appropriate period. So, yes.
I think it's the same schedule that Pfizer pays me, so that works out really well. So.
Good. Yeah.
Dude, oh my God, the amount of Pfizer shills and stuff that I get, guys, if you get vaccinated, basically come into my live and TikTok, and we can add you to the vaccine tracker. So that's what we do. We celebrate. This is something that 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐴𝐽 started doing, and I think it's such a cool thing. And basically, we celebrate people who get vaccinated. You contribute to public health. We appreciate you. We love you. So we're up to 1,000 101 vaccines in a little over 2 months. So it's been awesome. Any type of, get your COVID booster, get your flu booster this year, and your family too. Get your family vaccinated because vaccines cause adults. So it's a good thing to get your
Ooh, I like that one.
get it.
As you can all tell, Dr. Greg is a marvelous guest. He's been on many times before. Not enough. We're going to have him back again. I do want to remember and do the science denialism, but his channel is in the description. We've dropped it, and if you go look at some of his past shows, including what he does and his work in the biodiesel, we were making fun of that, but for doomers
I'm not making
out there.
fun of it at all.
No.
I really do want my do want my algae diesel.
I remember that. I remember Xandring. I'm with you, man. Yeah, it's on. That's all my old channel, the Pure.review. That's like my old. I did remake things for like my new new go at it. But yeah, I kind of stopped. I stopped doing the science communication in like late 2021, early 2022. It was just like getting too much with finishing my PhD and then moving. And honestly, what brought me back into it this last year was everything that was happening with Trump and the attack on science as an institution. And I'm not a good like speaker, or like the content that I can make, is this basically, you know what I mean? I'm not a good, I don't know. I felt like I needed to do something as a scientist and try to communicate what was actually happening. So I dusted off the microphone and started doing this all back in like August. So I just booted back up, and it's been really fun. It's been really cool. I spend a lot of my time. Basically, it's kind of like a call-in show. People call in with. Talk about mental health. We talk about the vaccines. I'm not a physician, so I can't give medical advice. I never do that. But yeah, it's just like we talk about news. We talk about things that are happening, politics. I mean, science is political, guys. We have to use public funds in order to fund science. But so we talk about science and politics and everything in between. But and how science has become ideological, which is I think the word that people are trying to use, and we go everywhere with it. So, yeah. Well, thank you for having me on.
In reference to, worried about that you're not particularly great with the words, all the words, the best words. There's a glaring example of how bad you can be with words and still grab a bunch of attention. I think that you do a wonderful job. We love having you on. Thanks, I have watched many of your shows on your channels, and I have enjoyed them. I don't believe that you're bad at this. I do think that you actually are pretty decent at it. And even if you weren't, we need more science.
Yes, sir.
Scientists. We need more science, and we need more scientists getting out there, because right now, especially around the subject of science, it's pundits that are and talking heads, and it's echo chambers, and it's people that have are just vomiting their feels about something that they know nothing about and have no evidence to back up, no numbers to back up. Those are the people that are getting the loudest voice at this moment about science. It's like I'm very much a free market, capitalist, and even I'm sitting here going, there's not a whole lot of value to a market to start scientific endeavors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough, man, because the capital expenditure is going down because of the uncertainty, and that's exactly. Actually why.
And we need governments in order to fund this stuff. Capitalists weren't going to go to the moon, and because there's no value in that. What market value is that? Yeah, all of the technology that came out of that and all of the problem solving that had to go into that. It's like if there hadn't been some sort of public investment into that, we wouldn't have many products that ended up having very good market value out of that thing. So science 100%. Is one of the things that's actually going to save the human race. It's going to be able to save the planet, so that maybe, hopefully, we can actually find out if there is more complex, intelligent life in the cosmos. So, which I am burning up inside, wanting to know the answer to that.
That'd be
I
nice.
believe there's plenty of life out there, but I want to know
sure.
if there's more life like us that we could communicate
Well,
with.
I'd like to find
understand,
intelligent. I'd like to find intelligent life on this planet first, and then we can start looking for it on
That's
others.
a mining
But okay.
expedition. I don't know, maybe at the center of the
So yeah, I appreciate what you do. Thanks for doing
Thanks,
it.
man.
Please keep doing it, because
you.
even if you do it badly, it needs to be done, because nobody else is doing it, or very few other people are doing it.
Thank you.
We
man.
need
I
to
appreciate you saying
drown
that.
out all of those echo chambers and talking heads that are just spewing a bunch of crap.
I'm a masochist or something. I don't know. I actually really like those conversations where those people they're super anti-vax and stuff like that, and it's a really interesting way of understanding how people believe what they believe. And most people don't know scientists in their life, so it's kind of like a unique opportunity for them, and it's a fun conversation for me. And that's just kind of, I don't know, TikTok is really cool in that you basically have voice chat built into the app, and just these people can just request and join instantly.
Interesting.
And that's actually my favorite part of doing science communication, is talking to other people, like doing stuff like this. Like, genuinely, I love it. It's making the canned, like, 60-second science explainer stuff. That's not me. I don't like that. My goal in my communication is to bring up the discourse and educate, right? Like you're saying, Nick. And I'll use jargon, but hopefully explain it to you while you're learning, so that you can spot it in the future, kind of thing. And TikTok has really allowed that to happen. Really, really cool. And it's been a really amazing experience, and it's going well. We're fun. I'm actually creating a 501c4 out of this whole thing. I'm doing it. I'm doing it real, man. We're basically doing this make MAVA.
MAVA.
Make America Vaccinated.org. We're making a 501c4, so we're gonna.
Could you do that one more time, please?
Yeah, it's here too.
Or there we go. There we go.
There you go.
Well, keep going with that, because one of the things I want you to keep in mind and remember, because remember, I'm an expert on everything.
Yes.
Is that having conversations like this, and even if you're talking to somebody who is a complete whack job and has not reasoned themselves into a position that you're trying to reason them out of, it's not always for it's not for me, although I learned a lot of things and appreciate it. It's not for Nick, because Nick just doesn't know anything and probably never will. So, but all of the people who are watching this anonymously, who are able to actually question things because they're not going to get shut down by their friends, they can actually start forming opinions. And even if they won't admit them out loud, they'll get in their mind that, hey, maybe science isn't bad. Maybe I should listen to some of these things. Some of this stuff makes sense. Oh, they've got some points there. Maybe I should look into this, or maybe not, and just believe you. And they can never admit that to their friends group, but inside of their own head, they're thinking this through, and that tends to not let them support other things, like when they go into the ballot box to make votes for other things. They may make a different choice then. So there's a lot of other people that, because of the anonymity of being able to just watch the conversations and maybe possibly learn something, that can actually change lives.
100%, dude. The biggest thing is that, like, a lot of these questions are valid, but the problem is that the people don't have that avenue to kind of like reach out and have that conversation. And I totally agree. It's a lot of people. It is why did we use mRNA technology? Or how dangerous was COVID-19? Or how many people did die?
Or
these are
even what is mRNA technology? Because most of the
exactly.
people who are decrying it have no idea what it is. It's
Exactly,
bad thing. It messes with your genetics.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so I think that's the big thing, like destigmatizing it. And people think that I'm AI, which is wild. I actually have someone that legitimately thought I was an AI person. It's weird, man.
I mean, you are way too good looking to be an actual scientist.
Oh man.
So of course you've got to be AI.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's been a really cool experience. But yeah, we're doing the 501c4. We're trying to stop the 423 bills. We're like, and yeah, so that's I got merch dropping like this week actually. So Sorry to plug it, but yeah, it's
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate.
So yeah, it's on my TikTok shop. It's on my it's actually linked on my link tree that Titan is in the chat with. It's 15% cheaper on there. So I got mugs, hoodies, shirts, leggings, everything like that. So it's been really cool. It's been a really fun experience, and I want to go on like a lot more of the adversarial right-wing podcast sphere. That's my goal. I'm trying to break into that. I'm trying to get like some.
I'd watch that. I'd watch the hell out of that.
The long form stuff, and because I feel like that's just like the most fun for me, and to give people an opportunity to ask those like legitimate questions that I feel like, and I'm just if you're feeling down and you're feeling like science or you're feeling frustrated with the world, just I'm telling you, try to make an impact the way that you can, and start local. Like local is the thing to do, and all of our news is national, all of our frustrations are national, and that's where you can kind of have the least amount of impact. So check it out. Check out your local races.
Let me interrupt real quick. No Titan, bad Titan, bad Titan. No biscuit. Do not go on the raging tomato. Don't under any set of circumstances. Go on. All right. Well, I will actually. I will be. I will be on Bad Science Sunday at, I think it's 8:30. I don't know why it's 8:30, but it's 8:30. We also have downtime tomorrow, 9 p.m. We are unsure if we will be able to make that schedule. We'll let people know on the Discord. So go sign up on our Discord. Please like and subscribe. Please check out. We have been dropping links to Greg's stuff, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of them now that he's back. We're gonna have him on for. We're definitely gonna bring you back. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Xandering, as always. The check is in the mail as always, and I may call you for tomorrow night. We'll see. Oh, actually, and we are going to have Theo from Democracies versus Dictators back. We want to try to schedule that with Lance, so he's available. He did have to go midstream. We sort of finished out the show, but I think it was a good show. I think we learned a lot from him, and would like to talk to him more, but I know Lance would like to be there, so we're just trying to sort that out with everybody on board. So, thank you all for joining us once again. Trump did sign the package from Congress. The government is now open. The shutdown officially is over. Also, the discharge petition has officially been signed, and the Epstein, releasing the Epstein file bill has officially been scheduled for a vote as per the discharge petition for next week, and I think that's going to be interesting. So, and we had a great discussion about that, and go find our one on, I wanted to say this earlier too, go find out, we had Greg on to discuss what he does, because he was working on how to...
I'm a scientist. I'm actually a scientist.
Well, and you had been working on the biofuels,
yes, go watch that
and
previous show so you can
it was a good show.
Yeah,
it was a great show.
You guys, that was a cool opportunity. Yeah, it was like more about my research and stuff. So yeah.
All right. Well, no, it was good to have also. So it was good to be outside just the two political wonks sitting there. So it worked out perfectly. Thank you so much for coming tonight of all nights. It's been a great show. So any more emails released in the last 2 hours? Not that I'm aware of, but I think we're going to have a lot to keep up with tomorrow. I think it's going to be interesting. Thank you all very much. And Greg, we look forward, and good luck on the 50C3. We're going to keep our audience informed on that. Thanks, and if you're not on our Discord, come on in, because I think there are people who want to talk to you. So
I am.
All right, perfect. I will see you.
Remember the meaning of life? Remember the meaning of life and everything?
42? Yes.
The answer to the meaning of life and everything.
Yeah. Yes. I think it's 42, but it really depends on.
42.
All right. Thank you all for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Again, we'll have to see if Commander can make it with Commander Lance McMillan for downtime. Have a good night, all.